I mean, we can talk about guitars. We can stay on this song. We can switch to another song.
Yeah, let's switch to a different song.
Is there another song that you guys wanted to know the guitars of? Like, was there a specific thing, specific
Yeah,
track?
we're
I
taking
know you,
requests.
yeah, I know you guys got a copy of this in advance, but it's totally okay if you didn't listen. I will not
Speak
have
of the
my feelings
Devil,
hurt.
Pat said was pretty cool.
Was sick for guitars?
Yeah.
Sounds great. We'll go
Sprinkle
there.
of the Dinkle. Or what was the one that
Sporkle
we
of the Dorkle.
Sparkle of the Darkle, yeah. Anna and I are just been going back and forth on revisions, and I'm just like, Sprinkle of the Dinkle sounds pretty good, but could you just turn up to
Tizzy of our Lizzies.
yeah, Tizzy of Our Lizzie. It's
Yeah,
stupid.
you're a great guy, great genius. What's cool about this song is it's the other drum kit, so you can actually see I
Oh,
automate.
very interesting, yeah. Damn, with a real drummer too.
Yeah, and you can hear I compress the overheads less. Oh, never mind. I went hard. I did the
So,
LA2A thing to bring more smack out of it.
yeah,
Whatever. We're here to talk about guitars.
right. You just
So one of the things that I've noticed as I like sort of went through this is they're more filtered than they sound like altogether. So you're actually cutting out, I cut out a lot of high ends.
What do you use for guitars?
Oh, okay. Um, that is right. I was going to bring up how I engineered this and everything. So when I recorded this, I used my Les Paul Jr. At a recording studio. I didn't do it at home. The reason I did that was I had the session time available for free. So that's one. Two is the studio has better RF noise cancellation. There's less like magnetic noise in the air. Like there's not a giant gaming computer in there that's pumping out RF everywhere. There's not LED lights in places. It's
What are you
all
even talking about right now?
so single coil pickups pick up noise in the air. They pick up magnetic noise. Even normal pickups pick up magnetic noise. Go take your guitar when you have it plugged in, especially to a high gain thing, and just hold it up to a piece of electronics. You're going to hear a hum. You're going to hear oscillations. You're going to hear stuff. Proper recording studios are treated for that. They take that into account because when you're doing stuff in there, you don't want any of the transducers, which is what a pickup is, inside the electronics of the like analog gear picking that up. You don't want the transformers picking up noise from the environment. That being said, I was able to record there through a DI, and I was actually playing through a Kemper on a low gain patch. And the reason I was doing that was twofold. One, I thought I was going to go low gain for this EP. And two, it made it really obvious when I missed something. It made it really, really obvious when I didn't hit something as hard as I should have, or if I was being inconsistent. It was going through some Marshall Plexi Kemper patch. But I caught the DI. Then I ran it through my Fractal using a dual rec patch. And there was very low noise, like no noise at all. Um, I've since then, I have a Mesa dual rec here. I plugged into it, used the same cab sim and everything with my Les Paul Jr. It sounds almost identical, a little bit better, honestly, because it's a real amp. But there's noise and all this other stuff, which would make it impractical for me to use that in a recording rig at home. So that's the weirdness of how I engineered the guitars. I actually went to a studio to do it properly because of the noise in the air and stuff like that. Nick can attest when we were recording his album that I would play that guitar and I would have to like sort of sit facing this way away from the
Yeah,
computer.
that's
And
really
like I had to find the spot and I'd be over here like, all right, Pro Tools play 2 bar count in. Like it was annoying, but that's the stuff you got to do when you're doing it at home. I didn't have to do that. I just got to sit there and record and be comfortable, which
So
was nice.
is this an amp sim or like an Axe-Fx or your head going into a low box? Like what is it again?
So this is an Axe-Fx. This is my Fractal FM3, um, which is basically a plugin but outside the computer.
Right.
Um,
Digital.
yep. And let me get rid of
Sounds
all
good
this.
though.
It sounds great. I mean, I spend a lot of time with it to get it to sound the way it does. There's for the rhythm parts, especially on this song. This was the only song that we rehearsed as a band while we were playing live in 2018 and 2019. Um, so when I recorded it, I actually wanted it to feel like it was a live performance. So the drums aren't quantized. Um, they are in some spots, but they're not like locked to the grid like my drums were. I actually made sure the rhythms, there was no real center track because it's just two guitarists, a left
Well,
and
hold on,
right.
wait, real quick. Let's just take
Yeah.
a second. So we flew out Tay, who is Andrew's friend from Berkeley, who was going to Berkeley School of Music for drum performance, right, Andrew?
That wasn't his major, but that's,
Oh, okay.
he's a drummer. He got
Talented
in.
ass drummer who can
Yeah.
play to a click, and we didn't have to quantize is really the point that I'm trying to make. Like
Yes.
he just is good enough to where he can play very on the click because he's really good at playing drums, and that's why we didn't have to quantize, and it sounds
Yeah.
pretty on because it all stems from the source, and the source in this case is the performance and the skill level, and that's why. But it does kind of give that live feel. That's pretty dope, actually. I didn't know that you really didn't quantize, or I kind of maybe you told
Yeah.
me, I just didn't believe you.
So you
But
can see these are just the comped tracks. I didn't
wow,
I didn't do
dude,
anything to them.
I'm tired.
I didn't usually I'll go through and I'll gain match the peaks of it all, but I just got so used to how this sounded and I automated around it that I was like, fuck it. It is what it is and it sounds good. And like this was an example of where I went and would cut out bleed on the kicks.
Yeah,
But that was
yeah.
also partially because it was picking up some of the toms and causing the kick trigger to go. So instead of me fussing around with settings to try to filter that out, I just was like, nah, I'll delete everything that I don't want it triggering. And it worked. And I did quantize like here. You can see I cut each hit. It's interesting that the kick out, that's aligned. It matched. I must have recut it for whatever reason. Oh, you know what? I did the split trick with the separate or strip silence. I had it clip everything.
Hmm.
That's all that is. But I did have to like do some stuff there. Like during some of the fills, I had to like that wasn't one. There was during the solo. There's a pretty cool drum fill that I actually did go in and quantize pretty heavily just so it would sit better. But that's not really the worst thing in the world. Yeah, right around here, you can see all those cuts, and I went crazy.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah,
So because of the
all that automation.
I mean, we talked about how like tone is everything, and how
Yep.
when you have tone, you don't really have to do much. Like usually what I tell people is that guitars, like rhythms, you really don't have to compress because when you're doing rhythm distorted, it's kind of just like pushing it into a wall anyway. And
Mm,
so like leads sometimes will compress. Um, and then it's like EQ, it's kind of just like cutting out some of the like harshness in a lot of cases, like around like 5K. But what did you do? What did you even need to do with these guitars after kind of because you got your tone like nice and dialed in, so and that's 90% of
yeah.
it. So what's the last like 10% really?
So part of the thing was the tone was dialed in to me playing through the patch. And I honestly was going to do multiple passes to try to really nail it. I just did it and started mixing with it. And this was the first pass of reamping that I did, and I just stuck with it. Some tape saturation. So you can see I have it like on the peaks. It's actually gonna like distort the tape a little bit. So that's giving it a bit of like compression, like natural compression. Tape will compress those low frequencies and saturate them a little bit. I also have a little bit of
Yes,
multiband compression.
multi-band compression is way more relevant on guitars than compression, especially
Yep.
with the low mids. Because
And you
it's
can,
especially dude like chonks or what am I saying? Like palm mutes. Dude, I
yeah,
always like use
you,
multi-band because the palm mute will get it all like boom, 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 in the
yeah,
low end.
I was going to say, so you can actually hear when I slide down and I'm using my hands to start muting, that's going to cause a bloom. And you can
Yeah.
see it actually dip every time. It might be a little delayed for you guys because you're going through the different the delay, but those palm mutes, it's pulling it down pretty aggressively.
Mine are even more, dude. On my album, like the palm mute's yanking it down on everything.
Keep in mind, with this, you have the tape helping as well.
Oh, the tape is compressing the low end just naturally. It's just
Yeah,
so
you see how
annoying
it-
doing the from left to right on that one part. I didn't even realize you did that.
Oh, what the da da? Yeah.
Yeah.
Small things I do for fun.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll put stuff in here just see if Nick realizes it. Then right into here. And let's see. Little EQ. So with no EQ, it still sounds pretty good. No filtering. Here, I'll turn all this off. That's raw. You can hear how it's a metal tone.
Oh yeah.
Then I high and low passed it. Cleaned it up a little. And then
Guitar is a mid-range instrument.
this, I just pulled out some of the nasty in the like upper 4Ks because it was just a bit too much. Boosted the high end a little
That's
bit.
where a lot of the like sort of like
They're on all the rhythm guitars, Ryan. So this is on my LPJ bus, and there are more plugins on the guitar bus. If you really want to hear it as raw as it can get, it's gonna be this.
Oh my god, it really does sound like more metal. The less plugins. I don't like. How did you like nudge it into punk rock as opposed to metal by mixing it? That's so funny.
Yeah. So like first adding the tape, you can hear how it tamed the low end and brings the mid range forward a little bit.
Yeah.
This to tame the palm mutes even more.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I think it comes from like bringing the mid range forward in a lot of ways.
And then this compressor does a lot.
Oh yeah, this is a good one. The 3A.
The LA 3A. So like this is an example of Nick just explained why you don't compress like rhythm guitars. It's because I'm not treating this like a dynamics control. This is a tone generator. This is something that's going to shape it. So like you can see I'm actually like hitting it pretty hard.
Compression does add tone. That's sort of
And
like
it adds
a new,
saturation. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a new concept for a lot of people getting into mixing because like what do you mean compression adds tone? But a lot of these compressors do add tone. And how would you describe like the tone that this compressor is adding?
So this one in particular, it's doing something to the mid range. So very boomy, lots of highs, lots of lows. Taming the highs and lows, bring the mids more forward. And that's just what LA3As do. And I stole this from CLA because I steal everything from CLA. He has, I think, like 10 or 12 physical LA3As that he has as inserts, but like his guitar bus and like his distorted guitar buses, he just has that as the default insert and he puts it on everything. And it's one of those things where I was watching Mix with the Masters and all of a sudden he's like, all right, cool. And then puts that in and I'm like, oh, that's the sound. That's it. Like if I go to buy real analog gear, I'm torn between bus stuff like bus compression or like these to start because it's like it gives me what I'm looking for. From there, this is complex. This is where I got a little silly. So that my mids flat. Mid frequencies are flat. I put a little bit of a dip at 3K, right? My sides, I believe this is on the sides. Yeah. So or no,
it's definitely
stereo.
not.
It's on stereo. So I have something happening on the stereo. And how is that different from mid side? I forget.
Well, it's kind of so like the side information, the side channel is everything that's different from left to right, completely different. And the mid is everything that's the same from left to right. So the difference isn't as big as if it was like on a, if
Oh,
this was
you
on a
know what?
master, but
You know
hard
what?
band.
I think it's because the stereo actually like it puts the same thing on both sides. So if one moves more than the other, it's only going to compress the right more or the left more because I'm
No,
using it
that
on
would be left.
dynamic
That would be
binds.
left, right.
Well, no, because it's on stereo, right? I'm applying one move to both, but it's dynamic. So if the left pushes more than the right during it, it's going to do the same thing to both, but it'll respond to the left more than the right
Oh yeah, that
because it's
makes sense.
stereo, it's left and right. They're just not
Yeah.
acting in unison. Whereas normal mono, it would just see the summed information and pull both down equally. I think that's what I was doing here. But I boosted it by 1K, so that's going to do a lot. That brings it into
Yeah, the
punk rock
1K
realm.
is really getting it to actually like poke through in the mids properly, you know.
Then good old Saturn.
Oh, nice.
So something that I do on a lot of my mixes, you'll see is Saturns at the end of all these chains. And usually it's on transformer. They'll be at different drive levels. And the reason for that is on analog gear, there's gain stages throughout the entire thing, like physical gain stages. And if you push them hard, they distort. So the idea is if I put one at the end of everything that I would consider like a bus or anything that has an SSL channel on it, when it hits that hard, it's going to saturate a little bit more like analog would. So it's like, oh, I'm going to push this a little harder. I'm going to feel it respond as if it's analog gear as opposed to just making it louder. Free multi-mode distortion plugin. You don't have
This
Saturn.
thing's dope.
Cool.
Yeah, this thing's dope. If anyone wants to try something like this,
Free plugins are sick. If you're going to buy any, start with FabFilter's bundle.
agreed. Very agreed. FabFilter is the best.
Before anything else.
By the way, if you show them an invoice of like this mentorship, you can get half off their whole everything bundle. Just so everyone
Dude.
knows, yeah. They do educational discount. We're like registered with them, so
That's so sick.
yeah.
You should be talking about that more. So there's that, and then I have it going into L1 just to tame. You see, it's not really doing anything really, but if there's ever a loud moment, or if I automate up for some reason, it'll limit it and give it a little bit of a sound. This is bring some loudness back. RX.
This is the one compressor actually like designed for guitars. Well,
Yep.
I mean, not like it's the one, but this one is like designed for guitars. I know.
And yeah, okay, that.
Nice, dude. This is
Oh, I know why. I know why that's there. No, that's not insanity. That's not insanity. So when I track, because I have an analog console, I track in real time. I will monitor through my console and mute what's in here. But if I'm focusing on guitars, I will go into a gain plugin and just turn it up by 6, 10 dB or whatever. So when I play back, it's louder than everything else. And then when I go back to mix, I just turn it back to 0. In this case, I accidentally put it to 0.02 and was like, yeah, that's 0. This is not mix
you're
insanity.
crazy, dude. I think you need help because there's no way you heard a difference between 0
No,
and
there's no
0.12.
difference. I bet if I did this and rebounced it, it would
I'm
null.
worried about you. No, I get it, dude. I understand.
And then just some gentle shaping and a little more saturation. And that's my rhythm guitars.
Oh yeah, dude. Anything differently you do on leads? I know we added
Um,
Soothe, but that's a me thing.
It's a good call. Specifically in the low mids. Looks like I put Epic straight on it. That's cool. I love when I break rules. Lead guitars. These are all dry. These are here literally just so that way, if we look at this, I go, these are my intro sections, right? I'll put it there. I recorded it here. And it just gives me an ability to go like, these two, automate it down. Without having to go and automate this one bus a million times, I can just adjust this one section. I can have these set to entirely different volumes where the chorus is generally, I'm going to want the guitars here. Stuff
Mhm.
like that. And you can see like this is named chorus lead, but I ended up dragging it to the pre-chorus because I was like, the level that thing's set at, I like better. So I was literally moving clips around to level it at one point just because it was quick. It was easier to do that than to mess with little automation points and stuff. I hate doing that. It's like the worst part of mixing for me. It's why I want to get controllers and mix analog and do all this stupid shit. But as for processing it differently, one, I'm using different patches. Most notably, the most weird different patch is actually the solo for this song for This Means War. So that is Marshall with an overdrive pedal for those two, and pretty much
Nice.
every other lead. But
Nice.
when Nick and I like to do things in the wrong order because it's convenient. And one of those things is recording all of the content for your EP to put on social media before the EP is done being recorded. Um, and I needed to write the solos the night before we shot everything because I'm stupid. Damn Sinister Gates. Thank you. I like that. Um, this solo, I just happened to have a 5150 patch on my Axe-Fx open, and I recorded the solo. And it's you'll hear how different it is tonally from these. Like those are high gain, but they're not like ripping. This is just stupid. And it's sloppy because this was the take I did the night before.
Doesn't sound sloppy in the mix.
Exactly. I did another version of this where it was clean, and I was like, no, I'm gonna
It didn't
put
have
it.
the feel. Right?
It didn't. I was really
Yeah.
upset. I was like, oh, okay, you
Yeah.
know what? We're gonna keep that one. It's fine.
You have to go with the take that has the feel. You
Yeah,
have to.
every time. And
Mhm.
like I listened to it in my car a couple times trying to get used to it, and I was just like, this sounds like I'm performing a piece. The other thing sounded like I was playing a solo. I'm gonna go with the
Yeah.
other one.
You gotta
And
go with the like manic night before the content shoot
yeah,
take, you know?
the tone comes from the wrist, comes from the fingers, the wrist, the vibrato. If you have shitty vibrato, you will not sound good. And that is just like a this is a guitarist speaking now, not a production person. You need to have good vibrato and good pick attack. If you don't have either of those things, it doesn't matter how clean your playing is, you will sound bad. And that is like I want to say across the board, a nylon guy who has no control over his dynamics is going to sound bad. Doesn't matter how clean everything is, doesn't matter how good the performance is. It just you need to have the emotive part down and consistent and expressive. If you can't do that, don't compare yourself to people who can, because no matter what you tweak your amp to, no matter what you edit, it won't sound right. It will not.
Mm-hmm.
And rant. Back to being a
Yes,
producer.
yes, yes. Yes, sir. Are there any like guitar related effects you think are worth going into?
In terms of mixing,
Yeah, or like in general, I know we double tracked the solo on that one part, but like what about anything like reverb or delay or anything you think is worth going into? Any special tricks?
so this has some reverb and delay. I really do things pretty dry. I wanted to push away from the drier sound this time, and I wanted to follow the CLA philosophy. But there was just a certain point where if I heard too much effects, it felt too cheesy and it didn't feel like me. That being said, the stuff's here.
It sounds fine. Yeah, just a touch of wetness, you know?
Then you can see I'm even throwing it into slap delays, long reverb, room, quarter note delay is being automated. Like there's stuff happening, but it's nothing that's like, if I bypass it all.
It kind of just throws it into the same space as the rest of the record.
I'm going to experiment more and get a little bit more wet with everything at some point. But for this, it just felt right to keep it like that.
Yeah. I mean, I usually will leave my my rhythms completely dry, and then um I'll add effects to my like leads. I'm very like I'm a little different in the sense that like I'll pick and choose what gets
Mhm.
reverb, and then I'll just emphasize that a little bit more. Like I'll make my vocal reverb wetter, and that usually gets the depth that I want versus throwing everything into the same room, which I think is what you're more so doing.
Yeah. And I mean, I add slap delay just to give it depth. All my rhythms get slap delay.
Mm-hmm.
This is the long reverb that it just puts it into like the same room as everything else.
Yeah, slap delay on guitar is sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really subtle. It gets the job done. There's one thing about rhythm guitars though, and that is a trick I stole from, I guess not technically CLA, but Green Day. And I would assume Rob Cavallo because he was producing those albums and whatnot. But it's the idea of flames. And dude, I didn't put any on Speak of the Devil. Oh, that's interesting. That's really interesting.
What are flames?
Flames are pick scrapes. They're slides. They're
Show
the,
us.
the noise. I'm going to show you. I'm going to switch to a different song where it's more obvious.
Me as a curse, your last regret, your scapegoat pet.
So you'll see on the left and right, there's just this quick little sound.
Trying to pretend I'm just the low life, stealing your soul.
Yeah.
And that's quite literally
This is like
just
fuck-
some pick scrapes.
Fuck, dude. Yeah. This is what it's all about.
Yeah. And then I have, I'm accentuating the parts that are supposed to sound big by just throwing a very mid-scooped, low-gain rhythm tone in the middle. Ironically, Green Day does the opposite. They put low gain on both of the sides normally, and then a nasally, like mid-rangey high gain down the middle. We went high gain for left and right, so I tried the opposite, and it sounds good layered. So you get this sort of vibe where so now that other guitar's in there and it just is a little bit higher energy. You're getting more pick attack noise than anything else. Because without it,
Oh yeah. Also, that helps with like mono. Also,
it does. Because if you listen to any of this in mono, like I guarantee, because I never check in mono. That's just I've never gotten any value out of it. I know that it works for Nick really, really well. It doesn't do anything for me. But if I collapsed this, you get all the bass, that middle guitar, and those octaves.
You and your crooked past.
Oh,
the delay.
automation. But the guitars are gone.
Heart attacks. I'll quit you way.
Pick scrapes are not centered, they're left and right.
I'm fucking glad I left.
Nice.
So
The chance to say you're just the low life stealing.
they're there to add width and they're there to just add accentuations. Before, I would layer them kind of quietly so you couldn't really hear it. And I was like, let's do the opposite and let's make them so loud that they stick out. And what ends up happening is they're just part of the energy of the song. So if you're not listening for it,
Witness told the truth, but you'll tie it up.
like that doesn't sound obnoxious. But
That's
when
the
you
rock version of an ad lib, by the way.
damn.
Yeah.
All right. And a drum fill at that. Wow. Okay. I never thought of that. That you did a number on me there. Cool. That's pretty much it for guitars. I mean, we did these clean guitars at one point, literally just for a couple songs.
Says a generic bad futility. Cracking a handle on the difference. Honored mourners, sons and fathers of you.
Oh, I love the little vibrato.
Yes, that was a good idea. You did a good job. And it looks like I'm pulling the shit out of 3K. I don't know. I just went like this was the most we put it in last second and I just made some moves and went, all right, and moved along. Like I didn't overthink anything. Just pulled 1K, pulled a shit ton of 3K. So like let's just hear what it sounds like without those EQ moves. So I added some chorus to it and I put it through more LA3A for mid-range. Yeah, it's sort of like, it's weird. It sounds like it added compression in a weird way.
Yeah. One thing I want to say that's really important to like workflow in general is like you guys notice Andrew's using like 3 plugins across the board for like everything.
Yeah.
And that's what you want to do. Like when you're making music, you don't want to be like, oh, what like compressor? It's not, It's not like the like all you can eat buffet with plugins. It's like you want to just learn 3 to 5 plugins super well and just
Yeah.
slap those. With the exception of vocal mixing, I think that you can get away with just slapping the same 3 to 5 plugins across the board on everything, and that's gonna get you a lot farther than like knowing more plugins. You just need like a few good
And
plugins and know them really well.
to transition to vocal mixing, on that note, I know we should talk about bass at some point, but or actually before we do that, we should take questions about guitar
Well,
stuff.
we got a couple of questions in like the
Yeah.
chat.
But I did just
already.
want to point out I am also uses the same 3 plugins on vocals too. Because look, C4, CLA 76, CLA 2A, Pro Q3, right? Mix Hub,
Yeah.
a de-esser, C4, CLA vocals, Pro Q. More CLA 76, more CLA. Like I do the same thing over and over,
Yeah.
just being like, I need more of this. And I just pull the thing I know what it does and I do it. And that's why I like analog
Uh-huh.
emulations, is because they all do something a little different. And once you know what they do, it's like cooking. It's like grabbing a certain spice. You know what it's going to do. Whereas like Pro Q doesn't have a sound. It does what you tell it to do. And like
Now it does because you can add the little thing in the bottom right. Sorry to.
but even then you throw Pro Q on, unless you set its default thing to have a sound, it has no sound. That's my point. Is like I throw CLA 76 on and hit play, I know it's going to change it a specific way without me touching anything. Whereas FabFilter stuff are mixing tools that are like designed to do what you tell them to do. If you want to make them have a sound, like you want to go into Pro Q4 and add saturation and do all that stuff, you can, but it doesn't start there. You have to tell it you want that, which is great. That's awesome. They're amazing plugins. And like I said, if I were to start from scratch and have to buy everything again, I'm starting with Pro Q 100%. But yeah, guitar questions.
I'm gonna run to the bathroom real quick while you answer the first one.
Okay.
It's in the chat, by the way. I don't know.
It's in the chat. Oh, okay. Hold on. Yeah. Other
Something
computer.
about like your recording.
Yeah, I just had a question about the recording, like when you're recording harmonies and guitars, if you have a specific process for like recording in a loop, if you just do it one take, how that goes.
I'm not, man, I wish Nick was here to hear this so he could troll me. I am really good at guitar, and I can usually get the part done in 3 or 4 takes if I know what I'm trying to do. It might take me like 30, 40 minutes to figure out what I'm trying to do, but once I've figured it out, I've got it. So like when it comes to those like harmonized parts, you know, the arpeggiated stuff where it was following the chords, the first time I did it might have taken me like 5 or 10 minutes, but it was mostly because I would be like, oh, I want this thing. And I don't go, let me write the part first. I just grab a guitar, hit record, and just start playing it. And I know music theory, I know my shapes, I know the instrument so well that I just start playing it, and then I make a mistake. And my problem is I like to do things in one take, and I'll just
So cool.
hit delete.
Wow.
I told you it'd troll me. I told you.
Yeah,
I did. I started with that. He asked me about like loops and like what's my process for recording the harmony parts, and I was like, there's no way of saying this other than I'm really good. And like I've spent most of my teenage and 20s years just focusing on playing. And like I can just play it, I can just record it. When I need to figure something out, most of the time of me recording it is figuring it out, not trying to get the right take. Usually the right take is like within the first 5 tries. Anything past that, I need to put the guitar down and take a walk, because it's like something's in my head. I need to just chill the fuck out. But to give you a practical answer as to how you could help yourself is if I'm working with somebody and they know what they want to do, but they're having trouble doing it, is I have them do it without a click. I have them just play it. Like play it a bunch of times until you're not making a mistake. And I've done this in the studio with a couple clients. I don't work with people often, but I try to. And what ends up happening is they'll do it 2 or 3 times, and I'm sitting there, you know, watching, or I'm on my phone. They go, all right, I got it. And I'm like, no, you don't. You didn't even play it once. Like, play it. No click, no like metronome, just get the parts down, play it cleanly. Once you can do that, now play it cleanly to a click. And from there, once you do that, you'll go, oh, I know how this is supposed to feel. Now you can start working on that. I've done this so many times and have been recording guitars for more than half my life. So like that process happens all at once, and it's great. I'm glad I can do it, but that's how you should approach doing it. It's not about capturing the right take and comping it together. It's about allowing yourself to play the part correctly. Now, if you're writing the song and you're demoing and you're like trying to do it, whatever, then yeah, dude, punch in, do whatever. It doesn't matter. But like, I go for such a natural feel on everything that I do that I need to be able to do it in one take. The exception to that, right, is that solo that I did the night before. It's the raw takes. I didn't consolidate anything. Like you can see just how like I punched a bunch of sections, and like I know for a fact actually this was consolidated because see how it says gain. Yeah. So this was consolidated, and then I still went in and did edits. Like for some reason I boosted the mids on just that part. That's weird. All right, I guess I did that. Like I punch in when I need to. If like it is oh shit, I can't play this right now. Like it's not a mindset thing. It is a skill issue. I'll start punching in. I'll start getting creative. I hope that answered you and gave you something practical to do when you're tracking in some way.
Yeah. I think it came down to mindset versus skill issue.
Yeah. Mindset is a lot bigger of a thing than skill issue. And like, also you have to be honest with yourself on, is this a skill issue? Right? Like, I mean, I could have sat here and nailed this in one take if I wanted to, just like I did for what solo was it? Manhattan or Low Life? Those were 2 one takes that I did and layered it. This one I did after like 4 or 5 tries. This one I did the first try because I just like had recorded this one so many times. I was like,
didn't you do that at like 7 a.m. one time before I came over? Was that the one?
Yeah, that was that one. Speak of the Devil was the one where I did it before I went to work. Because you were coming over, or I promised that I would have leads done by the end of the day, and I just fucking didn't. So I woke up and was like, okay, before I shower, before I do anything, and like my first thing I did was I got these 2, the left and right, done for these, and those are one take. That I woke up, I had fresh hands and like I wasn't thinking of anything, and I just did it, and I was like, oh. Well, that's what I was worrying about for 3 months. Cool.
It's like that for writing too, by the way. It's like it's usually when you're writing something, usually it's like in the first, when you're fresh, stuff usually comes to you better, you know?
Yep.
The beginning.
Got a cue from Patrick next.
Well, did you already answer the pick scrapes question?
Yeah, I answered that as soon as it popped up.
Okay. Pat, what's good?
Yo, so for some of the songs, you have like a distorted and a clean guitar tone, right? So what kind of processing, like, because I assume you have both those going to the same group, right? Like a guitars group. So what kind of processing do you do on the group?
So because of how we did this, I mixed this as I recorded it, which is a chaotic way of doing it, and it's a big old pain in the ass. But it seems to be how I work. We'll see if that's how it continues. While I was recording, I made this lead guitar bus, right? Or this folder with a bunch of tracks. And then as I needed more, I would just duplicate. So you see that there's like .d2, .dupe, whatever. I'd never cleaned up the names because I was in the process of creating. But at the same time, before I created that, I had my rhythm guitars. And then once those 2 were together, I was like, I should probably do some processing on everything a little bit just to get it sitting right. All right, cool. Now I'm going to do my cleans. So when I popped my cleans in and I went to like put those in the mix, they were already going through this processing up here. They were already going through this limiter, this compressor, this EQ, and the saturation. So all of the choices I made while I was in here, it had that processing after it already. So I didn't, do anything on my guitar bus processing to be like, oh, well, there's cleans here now, so I got to change anything. No, I made my cleans and I mixed them while it was going through all this other stuff. So it just came together and worked organically. I didn't really go back and forth. I did need to change some stuff on the EQ or on something while I was mixing on the cleans. And I just came back here and tweaked this stuff instead of touching the bus. because I was like, it's fine. Everything's there. It works.
Okay, gotcha.
Cool.
Interesting. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Did you have? Is there any follow-up questions to that, or is that sort of?
No, not really. I mean, now I'm
Okay.
seeing like what's on your bus here. It's like mostly compression and just EQ, right?
I mean, the limiter's there literally just in case there's any peaks. When I'm like, if for some reason palm mute resonances came through on my rhythm track and my PRS layer tracks, or if I do 4 slides at the same time and it just is a little too much, it all adds to be too much. That's what this L1's here for.
You can limit all your buses, by the way. That's like you can limit your guitar bus, you can limit like your drum bus, you can add a limiter to your vocal bus. That's one of the less talked about tricks to getting like a overall loud mix is when all the buses are sort of like pushed forward with a limiter, or the peaks are tamed before they even reach your master processing.
So you can actually see that I have a compressor on my drum kit as well, which is like, it's not doing much, I promise. It's less than 2 dB of compression, maybe less than 1. Honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if I hit play and like it only taps it like once a song. Like it was just something I put there at some point, and I'm of the mindset that like if it sounds good, I'm not going to change it. So like if I put it on and then I played with the gain structure and suddenly it's not affecting that plugin anymore, unless I notice while I'm going through and like cleaning up the session that plugin's not doing anything, it's just going to stay there. It's going to live there. It doesn't bother me. Like, I buy computers that are ridiculously powerful so I can be stupid like that.
Yeah.
Or
cool.
Awesome. Thank you, man.
Yeah, no worries. Ryan, I see a cue from you.
Yes. So when it comes to layering all these guitars, whether it's rhythm or lead, do you have like a go-to move for like changing the tone while you're recording, or is it mostly in post doing EQ to get things to sit in the mix the right way?
That's a great question. So in this scenario, it was a lot of it was actually a combination, because I tried to make the low gain tones work, and with those, when I recorded it, I caught a DI as well. So at first it was, let me just get these low gain tones to work. I want it to sound like Green Day. Couldn't do it. And when I did do it and it finally sounded similar, it didn't match the song's vibe. So I was like, all right, well, like I chased that, went down that rabbit hole, and I didn't like how it sounded. So I switched the DIs and I tried some amp sims in the box, and they sounded fine. And I tried a dual rec, I tried a Friedman, I tried a bunch of stuff, and I really just would play with the cab and the amp and the overdrive pedal. Like that's the core of it, and I would just mess with it till it sat right. And then when that stopped, when I could not get it to sound right there, I literally ran it through my Fractal while I was playing the parts, like playing along to it with the guitars muted, made it feel good that way, then turned down the gain a little bit, because when there's 2 guitars and when it's layered, the high end adds up and that mid-range noise adds up and it sounds gainier than it actually is. So I turned down the gain, and then I just reamped it and was like, let me see how that sounds. And when I hit play, it was way closer to what I wanted. And I was like, cool, good enough. I'll move on and do something to the bass. I reamped the bass. And from there, I just never tried reamping again. I'm sure I could have, but like it sounded good enough that I just moved on. Ideally, this will wrap back around to what we're talking about, but there's a little bit of a tangent to go on. Back in the day, or when you have a high budget, right? You can hire a producer, you can hire an engineer for Pro Tools, you can hire an engineer to be like the overseeing engineer of everything, and then you can have a couple runners to go tweak things, right? That's great. We don't have that money. We're not doing that. The idea is when the band's playing and the producer and the engineer are sitting in the control room, they can decide like that while they're rehearsing the song or figuring it out or like just jamming. You know what? Maybe we should move the mic. Maybe we should do this. Maybe we should do that. Let's get this sounding good just while they're jamming. So like when we just push the faders up to 0 on Pro Tools, it's just going to sound fucking fantastic. I aim for that, but I'm one person, not a team of people. I will definitely keep these patches. I'll keep everything that I've learned. Like, the rhythm tone on here was really, really, really mid-scooped. And you can see that, I tamed the low end. I pulled out some of the distorted frequencies from the dual rec I didn't like. This added a lot of mid range, and then I boosted a bunch of 1K. So now, if I go to record something else, I might choose an amp that fits this sound a little bit more than that. If I'm trying to go for the exact same sound I have here. And another thing is like your concept of what it should sound like might change as you're mixing, and that's okay. Everything I just described started as I wanted to sound like Green Day, and then it turned into this. And then it, eventually I found my way into what is living here, and that's good enough, and it's fine. I didn't overcomplicate it, but my philosophy from the start was let's get a sick tone on the way in. And that's what matters, is that you get a sick tone on the way in that you can nudge where you want it to go, as opposed to being like, it's fine, it's distortion or whatever, we can worry about it later. You will never get a great sounding tone if you worry about it later. You need to try to make it sound great or go after an idea from the beginning. And that goes across everything with all forms of engineering.
Nice.
I like what you said too. It plays to your philosophy of something that you don't, or I don't think you've talked about it that much, is that like sometimes you'll like get the best sound you can, and then you'll mix it down, and then you look at what you did with mixing, and then you'll be like, okay, how can I get it closer to mixed earlier in the process next time?
Yep. Like, I mean, Nick and I recorded our vocals through a Sony clone, which is a $20,000 mic, $10,000 mic by Warm Audio. And like,
it's a clone. It's not the actual mic.
It's not the real thing. It's not the real mic. And there is a difference. Going through a BAE 1073 preamp, which is a Neve preamp for all intents and purposes. Through a vintage 1176 and vintage LA2A into an Avalon. Like, we know from doing this so many times with our own voices what we want to get out of it. And we even learned next time we're not going to use the Sony. Or like if we do, it's going to be one that I've modded with a different, I think they're called capsules, whatever it is, the actual microphone part of it. I talked to some people and figured out what the actual one is and where to get that replacement part. So I'm going to mod the one I have to just see if it sounds any better. But we're probably going to go with the Bronner next time because we liked it better. We're definitely, at least for my taste, compressing way more on the way in. Because like we barely kissed the compressors when we were tracking. And then when we did overdubs, we were way more aggressive with it. And the overdubs just sound so much better.
More
like I had to go, way more aggressive up front and match the music more. I actually had to go in and find those clips because there were some lines that Nick said in some of the songs that I'm like, why is this so much louder? Why is this so much bitier? And I had to EQ those clips individually to match the rest of what was going on. But I liked it better. I was like, I kind of want to do the inverse. I want to make everything else sound like this. But when you do it enough and you experiment and you try, more importantly, when you see it through to a final product, you know what you want next time. And that's going to make the process so much smoother. And that's iterations. And that's why my Pro Tools session looks like absolute chaos, is because every time Nick and I do one of these EPs, it's not just us making songs. It's us pushing our skills and our boundaries of everything and just seeing how good can we make this. And when we engineer, like, I don't know, Nick doesn't like spending too much time on it, but I love spending a day and a half, 2 days now on drums, like getting the sounds.
We kind of did that though, the last drum
we did it with the most recent thing that we for 2 of the songs on here. We did do that. We gave it about a day. Mm-hmm. But we didn't. I need more. What I've realized is like there's a lot more to drums than just throwing good heads on with a decent tuning and getting the mics right. I'm spending time tuning those heads for a while. And then I'm spending a lot of time trying different heads, trying different things, different placements in the room, stuff like that. Because all of that is what's going to add up to the point where eventually we'll be like, hey guys, check out our new session. It's going to have 3 plugins on every track. And it's going to be like,
I can't wait till you do that again. So I could just like play on my phone for like a good day while you do that.
Oh, dude.
Like switching out all the heads and stuff. But I'm sure
you
sure
won't
it
even
will
have to
sound
be there.
sick.
Yeah.
No,
You
I'll
can-
be there. I'll chill. I'll just like take videos of you, like, look at this crackhead.
Yeah.
Trying to different.
It'll be great.
But I know how much of a difference it makes, dude, because you talk about it like with getting each nut the right amount of torque, right? Isn't that what you kind of do?
I mean, that's a physical description of what I'm doing. It's sort of like saying you twist the knob on the guitar until the string's tight enough. It's like calling it tuning,
Yeah.
Sure. But like, it's trying to tune all the different points of the head, because no head's perfectly circle, to be at the right tension, so that way it resonates in harmony or not harmony with the shell, and then the bottom head matters. And then I've learned so much in the past year since our last session that like I can't wait to the next one. It's like that's the fun of making music for me.
Well, I know we kind of broke down the vocal chain already. Like if there aren't any other guitar questions, maybe we can use that as a segue into like vocal stuff.
Yeah. That's cool. Do you want to talk about bass before we hop in there, or do you want to?
We can go kind of like chronologically if bass